I have never seen anything as harmful as crack. It's dangerous, it's deadly, it will kill you.
For decades, opioids like hydrocodone and morphine will serve to suppress back pain after surgeries, most injuries, and cases of severe cough, for example. But when it comes to human curiosity, we always tend to figure out a way to get high or have sex off of something.
Margaret noticed that Peter was developing sexual feelings for her and would nibble her legs and act flirtatious. Margaret would respond to Peter's advances by pleasuring him. That way he could maintain focus.
Hydrocodone and morphine ultimately bind the mu opioid receptors in our brains. This is the easiest gateway to blocking pain and producing euphoria at a dangerously fast pace, leaving you looking sedated as shit. When it comes to these two, morphine definitely takes the belt for better punching power. Morphine is stronger than hydrocodone because it binds more tightly. Morphine is more of a natural opioid than hydrocodone. Hydrocodone is basically the cheap shit. In the late 90s into the early 2000s, these two drugs weren't exactly easily accessible on the streets. Morphine and hydrocodone were types of medicine that you only really seen in cabinets, but not as widely traded on the corner. Morphine was mostly hospital-based. So outside of certain circles, they didn't have the same brand recognition as Oxy or heroin. The real drug prior to morphine and codone was crack from the 80s. But what really was popping at the time was heroin, aka dog food.
Death could come in a little bag like this. This is a stamp bag that a user would buy on the street. It's about $15 for 1/10 of a gram of heroin, about the size of your fingernail. So what is this drug they call dog food? What's it look like? And how does it get here? And are kids really using needles to shoot it?
During that time, heroin was a dominant street opioid. Basically, forget hydrocodone and forget morphine. Heroin was the top dog. The accessibility, it was literally everywhere.
This is the exact size of a kilogram. It would be, for those on the American system, it'd be about 2.2 pounds. And this would come in, it would be made in a lab somewhere in Mexico and compressed. If you feel it, they call it a brick, and it really is hard as a brick. I mean, it's a very hard substance. This kilogram of heroin on the streets of Cleveland would cost you somewhere between $65,000 to $85,000 for this 1 kilogram.
Cartels had it, guys on the corner had it, everybody had heroin. When it came to the availability of hydrocodone, it was limited. You had to know somebody who had a script that had to go in and actually tell a doctor to give it to them. Just like with hydrocodone, morphine is hospital-based, so it's harder to divert, and most likely if you're getting it on the street at that time, it was fake. Now, heroin ranged from $10 to $20 per small bag.
So how much do you sell it for, and what do people get for that?
$10 for a flap.
Can I see?
That's a $10 flap of fentanyl.
And that's dark green?
Dark green. That's the shit that's dropping people.
Do you know what purity that is?
15% fentanyl. 3% heroin. The rest is baby laxative, sugars.
Is it possible that I'd die if I took that?
Yep. All depends how high your immune system, your tolerance.
I mean, I've never taken fentanyl before.
If you took that, you'd die.
100%?
100%.
Would you sell it to me?
If you wanted to buy it.
If I want to buy it? Like, if I give you $10 for that now, you'll sell me that?
Yep. It's your life, bro. You gotta make your own choices, right? And I gotta eat.
Just like any other drug, heroin wasn't born as a street drug. In 1898, Bayer, the same company behind aspirin, sold it as a cough syrup even for kids, claiming it was a safer alternative than morphine. But by the 1920s, addiction had spiraled out of control, and the US banned it. That's why heroin left the pharmacy and moved into the streets quickly, becoming the drug of choice. Heroin was cheap, and honestly, it hit harder than morphine. But heroin had its limits. You needed a lot to move weight, and traffickers wanted something stronger, easier to smuggle, and more profitable. This led to the rise of Fetty. No, not that Fetty. There we go. It's 2013 and we are in the northeast region of America. In the streets, fentanyl has been introduced as a mix inside of heroin by dealers to create a, quote, better high for their clientele. One bag could give you a high you have never seen. The next bag could take you somewhere else you also have never seen.
Jesus, 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 Jesus.
Fentanyl is like the rookie of the year, 25 to 50 times stronger than heroin. Fentanyl does not require you to take a lot in order to get a good bump. This is a trafficker's dream.
How much cocaine somebody would have to ingest to kill them. This is the approximate number of prescription pills one would have to ingest to kill them. This is the amount of heroin the average person would have to ingest to kill them. This much fentanyl would kill you and I if we split it.
I want you guys to really get a grasp of how fucking crazy fentanyl is.
After packaging up some fentanyl taken from a suspect's vehicle, Deputy David Five Eyes suddenly stiffens and falls back. Almost immediately, his training officer, Deputy Scott Crane, administers naloxone given to people who have OD'd on opioids.
Hey, dude. Wake up. Hey, buddy.
Now, that little ass piece of crystal is so lethal that it caused a California deputy officer to overdose while conducting a vehicle search on a car that had fentanyl in proximity to him. No, he didn't purposely pick it up to snort or to lick it or to eat it or to put it in his butthole.
Pull up, I put that crack in my crack.
No. This guy was in close proximity to it. I wanted you guys to keep in mind how smaller and easier these drugs are to put into things like weed.
Say, bro, you want to smoke something? First of all, I'm a street nigga. You know, Gage, here you want to hit the weed? I ain't see that get rolled up. I think too much.
You don't know what's in it.
Yeah, I ain't see you roll that up. I'm a street nigga. I ain't see you roll that up. I ain't gonna tell you that.
Now, fentanyl is a genius medical plan because it's cheaper to make, distribute, and buy. It also doesn't require a large dose to medically treat someone with chronic pain, unlike morphine does. And on top of that, the amount of time it takes for the effects to work is almost at God's speed. Flooding the brain's opioid receptors in seconds, that's why it feels so much stronger, and why the margin between a high and a fatal overdose is terrifyingly small. Dealers figured out you don't need a whole damn kilo to make money. You can press fentanyl into these fake-ass pills, mix it in heroin, even cut it into cocaine. And the user? 9 times out of 10, they don't know if it's there. This is how the market grows and more variants of these drugs come out. Decades of corporate greed and bad policy created the market for it, and that's where we gotta go next. NC's Therapeutics was an American specialty pharmaceutical company founded in 1990 and based in Arizona, known for developing and marketing Subsidies, a fentanyl-infused spray. John Kapoor was sentenced in federal court right before the COVID pandemic in Boston for orchestrating a scheme to bribe practitioners to prescribe Subsidies. John saw an opportunity in a generic drug and put it in spray form and sold it as a premium product. Kapoor poured in his own money and kept a tight grip on the company, to the point this guy hired a bunch of sketchy execs for the purpose of bribing doctors. And those same execs ended up becoming his co-conspirators in this case.
And hundreds of lawsuits accuse them of coaxing doctors with money and sexual favors to prescribe Subsys, a fentanyl spray for severe cancer pain, to thousands who didn't need it.
This wasn't a rogue sales rep. This was a corporate strategy, and it came straight from the higher-ups. Mind you, John Kapoor, the main head guy, the leader of this multi-million-dollar company, lie and act like they have an issue that requires them to have this intense-ass medicine. They're doing all this at the cost of these people's lives and getting these people hooked. This guy had this thing called the 8:30 call, which was a meeting where Kapoor, along with all of his co-conspirators, sat on a phone meeting, and one of the topics discussed was a scheme to bribe doctors. Listen, this guy demanded that his employees get a 100% success rate. Ain't no fucking around. You ain't getting a maybe or a no. Nah, nigga, your ass gonna get a yes.
Yeah!
This man knew his bread and butter was not possible without the approval of insurance companies, though. So to bypass that, Kapoor created a slick plan to get insurance companies to approve this fentanyl spray. Most people honestly couldn't afford this medicine without insurance companies. So Kapoor strategically planned to finesse insurance companies and benefit managers by lying about the conditions of patients and say that a patient had a form of cancer with breakthrough type of pain. And as a result of this, patients were receiving fentanyl spray due to Kapoor and his staff strategically exaggerating or misrepresenting the conditions of patients, claiming they had cancer-like conditions. Insurance companies were tricked into allowing this to happen. This made Subsidies sales skyrocket, and doctors kept prescribing because they knew patients wouldn't get denied at the pharmacy. So, more money for the doctors, more money for Kapoor. These corporate schemes weren't just crimes on paper. They created customers for the streets When prescriptions ran out or insurance wouldn't cover anymore, people turned to heroin and eventually illicit fentanyl. The market they created has a new generation of deadly products. The latest wave hitting places like Nebraska isn't just pills anymore. Purple fentanyl and faces a new wave of synthetic drugs that are not only more dangerous but also harder to detect and treat with Narcan. Purple fentanyl is fentanyl cut with something called lidocaine. Lidocaine is a type of jelly that doctors or dentists use basically to contain pain. Narcan is what is used to revive someone in an instance of an overdose occurring. With the lidocaine, Narcan isn't really effective due to Narcan only being able to temporarily fix opioid-induced overdoses.
That is our name. We're raising the bar and we're changing the game.
One was former Vice President of Sales Alec Burlikoff, dressed as a life-size version of the company's painkiller. Yesterday, he too was sentenced to a shorter term of 26 months in prison.
Thing you'd say to relatives of people who passed away due to use of substances?
I'm sorry. Very sorry.
I don't give a fuck, Keisha.